Hi there YouTube, Joel from Jonesy's and Adventure Vehicles Northwest. This will be video number 2 on our custom Willys truck build, our custom chassis, Cummins 4BT. We got the cab and doors and fenders back from the Sandblaster, and holy cow, they are ugly. Stay tuned for those details next. Okay guys, first things first, we'll go over some install details. We have the Cummins 4BT mounted to our chassis. We just fabricated up some pretty simple outrigger-style brackets and used the common rail later model style engine mounts. For those, they bolt right up to the 4BT. We got everything centered. It's looking really good. This side, we had to fabricate an offset plate. So the 4 holes for the mount are there, but unfortunately there's not enough room for the starter for this to direct mount. So we offset everything forward 1 set of holes. So during final assembly, there will be 2 bolts there, but for now, for mock-up purposes, that is sufficient. That also gives us plenty of room for our direct mount power steering pump adapter to go in there. So everything is really shaping up on the engine installation. We still have to kind of sort out radiator and fan setup. This is the low offset 4BT 4-bolt fan hub, and we may end up running the centered high mount 4BT fan hub. Not sure exactly where the mechanical fan is going to land exactly. So we took the opportunity to go ahead and get the body sandblasted so that we can have clean material to work with. And holy cow, this poor body was rough. I keep saying body, but cab. This cab was really rough. Here you can see all of the studs that we have welded to the edge, the door edge of the cab, because all of that got pushed in and it was just full of body filler. So what happened, I'm assuming, is that this door on both sides swung way too far like this and just completely caved in the front edge of the cab as well as the leading edge of the door. So we're gonna have to definitely get some stops put in there. We also patched a lot of the rust, and you can see kind of some existing repairs that have been done on the door itself. Can't really see it, but the roof, maybe you guys can see it. The roof it looks like it just got hit with a whole bunch of like heavy hail, because there's dents on it everywhere. Lower section of the cab corner is rusted out. We left that open so that we could get sandblast material in there and get all that taken care of. We'll go around to the other side. I'll give you some details on that. Here you can see the door itself also, not the door, the leading edge where this is caved in. And you can also see where like the hinge pocket has been damaged significantly because these just got completely overextended. So lots of repair work we need to do on this cab to get it squared away. Also, we had some clearancing issues with the floor pan for the Atlas transfer case and the TR4050. So we cut a hole for that, and then we're gonna have to go ahead and fabricate some new floor pans to get that all sorted out. So again, we wanted to work with some clean material because there's just so much fabrication, so much body panels that need to be fixed. Here you can kind of see some tear out on the corners. And there's a huge dent right there that was all full of body filler. There's a hole that still has some remaining body filler stuck in it. And then somebody chowdered out a big hole right there to make access for the exhaust. So anyway, this stuff is just really time consuming Takes a long time to sort it out. But the nice thing is that we don't have to be perfect on this because it's gonna go with a monster liner, bed liner paint. Here you can see where they just took a big hole. I mean, that's probably a half-inch hole and it's just full of body filler. Not the correct way to do it. We're getting it sorted out, and we're gonna minimize the thickness of body filler on this. So here you can kind of see the chassis itself. We have the rear axle kind of just set in place. I designed most of this spring and suspension stuff based off of like square body truck stuff, later model square body truck stuff, so late 80s, early 90s, and off-road design sells a nice tension style shackle mount. So we used their shackle mount for that to get it kind of mocked up on here so we could kind of figure out ride height and then also design in the rest of our flatbeds. So in here in the paint booth, you can kind of see we're working through doing all the rough body work on the fenders and the hood and the grille itself. We had to fill a lot of unused holes on that stuff. And then the inner fender panel itself actually is gonna get reworked because this old shock, we'll call it a cove, recess, interferes with our engine mount. So we're gonna build a new inner fender that basically just follows that bend of the front of the fender and goes straight back. So that whole section won't be there. This will just go straight back. Hopefully that makes sense in the video and you guys can see what we're trying to accomplish. Here's the other door for the driver's side, and you can hopefully see all of the dents on that leading edge. And it is just totally like flared out. Again, just because all those hinges, like wind catches that door and just like swings it wide open. So we're gonna have to address that with a good quality stop so that that doesn't happen again. But
we needed to finish up all of the fabrication for the chassis components. Here we're using the mag drill to drill the mounting holes for the Jeep style Saginaw steering box. Here you can see we mocked up the front bumper and winch plate. Here's a shock mount we got from Rough Stuff. This is one of the cool things we did in the rear section. We used a winch style spare tire mount. There you can see we got a full-size spare tire in there and the disc brakes. Finished mocking up the front axle. And then we moved on to fabricating and designing all of the flatbed components. Here on the Plasma, we're cutting out the rear taillight panel. We spent a lot of time in CAD, SolidWorks, designing all of these components because the flatbed itself is completely custom, just like the chassis. We tried to check every single box on the flatbed, meaning stake pockets, tie downs, all of the different components that you would need or want on a farm truck flatbed. We used the same style of slots in the tubing for the flatbed so that you had all kinds of access points for ratchet straps, tie downs, stake pockets, things like that. And then we custom mounted it to our custom chassis with weld nuts. Everything was made out of tube, 1/8 inch square tube, rectangular tube, 1/8 inch diamond plate. Whenever we ordered the diamond plate, we have lots of extra drops, so we utilized those to make gussets. We knocked off all of the corners, and then now here you can see the flatbed is ready for powder coat. We used a universal tilt steering column and designed and cut out a custom gauge panel, as well as a double-din radio mount and switch panel. Then we moved on to the transmission tunnel, as well as the firewall modifications for the turbo downpipe. Here you can see the clearance around the turbo downpipe and the final transmission tunnel. Finally, with all the fabrication and mock-up done, we loaded everything up and head to powder coat. And we switched over to the cab. Here you can see all the seam sealer and the epoxy primer that was applied to the bottom side of the cab. And then we switched right into doing the Raptor liner. The Raptor liner that we used was tintable, and we tinted it with a single stage catalyzed paint that is the color code for the Destroyer Gray. It's a Chrysler Destroyer Gray color. Used a body schutz gun to apply it directly over wet on wet epoxy primer. We didn't want the cab to be all the Destroyer Gray, so we masked off these inserts in the doors, and then we coated them with a satin black, not a gloss. It's more of a satin finish, just to give it some good contrast and to break up some of that Destroyer Gray. We didn't waste any time peeling the masking, and here you can see what a nice contrast that satin black is on that Destroyer Gray color on the door. This is also kind of a vintage look. You see quite a few of these Willys trucks with a two-tone done in this fashion.
Well, the day's here. We're at the point that things start to turn the corner and they go from looking bad and having to put things on, take things off, put things on, test fit, fabricate, to now we have everything back from the powder coater. Here's our chassis. There's our whole flatbed. And I couldn't help myself, I had to start bolting stuff on. And this is a very rewarding part of the project, is when all of your hard work and all of your mock-ups get tested and you get to bolt stuff on for the final time. So I've got the steering box bolted on. I've got some of my hardware laid out for engine mounts and springs. So let's take a whole shelf full of parts, as well as the big ticket items: front axle, rear axle, cab, engine, transmission, and let's put it all into that nicely powder coated chassis. So enough yapping, let's get to work.